Hello and welcome to Who Watches the World Cup, the podcast where we're inevitably disappointed at another England performance. Dave, this is Group F, the famed Gary Lineker Group of F.
Lol.
Yes, thank you. This is, and I didn't write that. As we have previously said before, some poor unpaid intern came up with it, and you made the joke. Hope he got another latte. Probably didn't. The BBC is stingy. But the Group of F, was supposed to be the most exciting, the most dynamic, the most fucktastic group in the
Is that what the F stands for?
Yes, the F doesn't stand for death. It stands for fucktastic. And we're covering this last group of the Euros on the final day of the group stages. We've done it.
That's aligned almost perfectly.
It really has.
When it's mostly just because we're too lazy and disorganised to... and it just happened to land this way.
No. It was fantastic and rigorous planning. So, here we are, the last day of the group stages. Group F actually have the final games of the day, I think. So, let's get into this group, make some predictions that will inevitably be wrong, and then in the next episode we could be like, well, that didn't go as planned.
The final round of group games is a great time to make predictions for what's going to happen, because there's a lot more data to go off of, and we're more likely to be closer to what actually will happen.
Oh yeah. So Group F, who are we rocking? Who's rocking and rolling in the fucktastic group?
I don't know if I can repeat that, but
sorry. I keep pronouncing it's funktastic.
Oh, I see. That's much better. There's plenty of funk.
There's a lot of funk in Group F. It's a bit funky in there. They really need to open the windows and let the
yeah. There are some superstitious players who don't wash their jockey straps. Oh wait, that's a water boy, isn't it? I don't know, but yeah, I'm sure there's some funky dressing rooms after all these games that have been played in all the, if so few stadiums.
Yeah,
I bet, and in some ridiculous hot temperatures, definitely some crotchal funk emanating through these.
I'm gonna let you edit out. I'm gonna let you edit out as much of this as you want.
It won't be any. This is gold. Speaking of gold, former World Cup and Euros winners, France and Germany, are joined in this group by the reigning European champions, Portugal, and Hungary, who are currently propping up the bottom of the table, as was probably most people's expectations before this group. There's this funny video of a Champions League draw from, I can't remember how many years ago now, where I think Slavia Prague were drawn. Don't quote me on that. Slavia Prague, Legia Warsaw, one of these really small European teams, was drawn in their group of death that year with like Barcelona and Inter Milan and all the other teams, and it was a bit like this, where any of the other three teams could go on to win the tournament, and then some tiny team on the bottom. And the camera footage from that draw just shows the directors or the chairman of this small club just having to laugh when they saw their name drawn after all those other teams. It's like, well, all right, I guess. And I can imagine the Hungarian FA doing the same thing when they saw this draw, being like, well, it'll be fun. We're playing against some. We get to tell our grandkids that we played against Ronaldo and Mbappe and Manuel Neuer, and that'll be nice.
All in 1 month.
All in the space of a month, yeah.
Yeah,
well, this space of a week.
This has been a pretty interesting group, because in a previous episode we literally said, what the hell's happened to Germany? Where have the Germans gone? And then a few days ago I sent you a message to say, knock knock, somebody's at the door. Oh, it's the German national team. They've arrived. They finally arrived. Yeah, so run me through this group. What were your expectations? How did it start? And then how has this group gone leading up to this final clash at the group stages?
Well, I guess everyone would have gone into, even though the group is the group of F, I think everyone still would have expected France to be the best team in the group and to go through top and to maybe go all the way. And I think they're still still among the favourites. I think they're the number 2 ranked team in the world, reigning World Cup, reigning world champions. So they are still probably the best. And what we saw from Germany in the World Cup was that they really didn't show up then, and kind of shocked the world. Even though I kept calling them the quintessential tournament team, and they're going to show up, Dom. They're going to show up.
You said they were going to show up, and they didn't. But this time,
maybe it's a different story. And Portugal, yeah, we spoke a lot about their ageing defence in the World Cup, and that didn't hurt them too badly. I think they got to the quarterfinals, did they, of the World Cup? So they did okay. But yeah, I think everyone looked at this group at the beginning of the tournament thinking like there's going to be there's going to be some tasty games in this.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the Portugal and France is tonight. That's obviously a big heavyweight clash. But the other heavyweight clashes have been vastly in contrast to each other, where we watched France not exactly shine against Germany. They won 1-0 and there was an own goal, Mats Hummel's own goal, that won the game, and Germany really didn't look at the races at all. And that was their first game. But then Germany kind of just found this switch somewhere when they played against Portugal last week, came back from 1-0 down, ended up scoring 4 goals. Again, 2 own goals, but they were putting Portugal under so much pressure that, especially that second own goal, it could have, any one of the Portuguese players in the box could have knocked it in. It just happened to go in off a defender. So whilst after Germany's poor showing against France, and we were like, what the hell's happened to Germany? And then what it did against Portugal, I was still kind of like, what the hell's happening to Germany? Like, I just can't tell which of these Jekyll and Hyde sides it's going to be. And France, while they did get the result against Germany, they were really frustrated by Hungary, and France were wasteful as well. I mean, Hungary went 1-0 up. France had tons of chances, showed little glimmers, or at least Mbappe was showing glimmers of his quality and how he's a world-class player, trying to make things happen, and it wasn't really quite going. And then eventually they managed to draw and equalise. They kind of salvage a point against these minnows, Hungary, who had also frustrated Portugal in their first game. Both of those games played in Budapest, by the way, so the home crowd probably did them tons of favours. But yeah, they frustrated Portugal for ages until they finally broke through and they managed to break the deadlock, get a goal. Then they got a penalty, which kind of gave Ronaldo some confidence to then just fucking walk past the entire defence to score his second and Portugal's third, to kind of break their hearts a bit. Because I think 3-0 was a bit of a generous scoreline considering how well Hungary played. And we were speaking this the other day, that now we're kind of like, because we're English, we want to see Germany fail. Yeah, and I suppose we kind of want to see France fail too, but they've already got 4 points. So at this point in the tournament, even if you finish third, if you've got 4 points, you're going to go through to the knockout stages, because 2 of the teams finished third with 3 points. So it would be great to see Hungary get a result in Munich tonight, and frustrate the Germans. But I guess that entirely depends on which of these 2 German teams shows up. And meanwhile, hopefully Portugal-France is this kind of heavyweight clash, this great entertainment. Ronaldo, Mbappe, Pogba, all these players really come to light to try and secure something, because something that we've seen with these last round of games is that sometimes teams who have a lot to play for actually don't really show up. Like Austria and Ukraine, I watched that game thinking these are both 2 teams that really need a result to get through, or at least be guaranteed of a safe transition to the knockout round, and they just didn't really. They were both too reserved and too afraid of slipping up, that it was a real boring, bit of a boring game. And then in contrast to that, Denmark's last group game against Russia was one of the best games of the tournament. It was unbelievable.
Incredible game.
Absolutely amazing. Denmark, I think they said it in commentary, and if we haven't said it before, it's certainly true now. Like, got to be everyone's second favourite team after the journey that they've been on. And everything in that group kind of turned out quite nicely, because we were kind of rooting for Belgium to score a couple of goals against Finland so that Denmark could finish second, because that was one of those groups where 3 points was not going to be enough to go through in third place.
Yeah.
So whilst Finland, or everyone could root for Finland just as an underdog. You would want to pick Denmark to go through with Belgium, and Finland to finish third. And as the results panned out, Russia finished bottom, Finland third, and Denmark completely deserved their second place to go through as runners up. Whereas Austria and the Ukraine didn't show anything, and the Ukraine deserved to go out because they just didn't put their bodies on the line to try and get through. So this Group F finale could go. I guess like the whole Euros are showing, I guess, what football is like. It could be glorious entertainment, or it could be England in every game that England plays.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe it's worth coming back to England in one of the later episodes, because there's a lot to say. But I think it's one of those things you were saying about Hungary, which is really interesting, that they've managed to infuriate these bigger clubs. Like when Portugal came back and got those 3 goals, starting from the 84th minute, it's like, well, Hungary actually held Portugal to a draw for 83 of 90 minutes. And then, they had their substitutions. And
yeah, and it was Guerrero, one of the defenders, who ended up scoring that goal, just because they had to kind of start, sacrificing players at the back to push forward and try and create some extra numbers up front.
Yeah, and we saw again with Hungary, France. I think France had 2 goals disallowed in that game against Hungary, I seem to remember. But again, that's like, if your 2 goals have been disallowed, it's probably because the defence is doing their job.
Yeah, and to be fair, they were strong, and their goalie made a string of good saves. He was one of their best performers.
Yeah, and so now we're going in against Germany, and kind of like, again, 2 of Germany's goals, the first 2 goals against Portugal, were own goals. Again, Portugal were leading that game until they scored 2 own goals. So did Germany need that, that kickstart of, oh, they got us on the board? Like, was that required for the German machine? Because if those 2 own goals don't go in, it's a 2-2 draw for Germany.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, that's assuming that those first 2 goals is what gave them the drive to kick on and score for themselves, because they may well not have done that. I mean, Kai Havertz had a really good game. I think he had one. He didn't have one disallowed, but one of the own goals, he was basically would have tapped in himself if it wasn't for him. So if it wasn't for the defender, so there was glimmers, and they have particular players who are standing out, like Gozens, the left wing back. I think he was putting in balls from the left all day, got a goal for himself at the end. I mean, I can't think of many other standout performances from the Germans besides those.
Yeah, so obviously, as England fans, we're hoping for Hungary to pull out some kind of wonder performance against the Germans today, win about 6-0, so that they can go into second place. Because whoever comes second in this group will face England in the next round, right?
Is that right? Oh, then let me get my predictor up.
Yes, so I'm pretty sure whoever comes second in this group will play England in the round of 16. Because England we just won our group.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yes, so if France... Well, we're assuming that France are going to top the group, most likely. Like, something ridiculous would have to happen for them not to top the group. Kind of.
Yeah, I think so. They're already on 4 points, and... let's see. So if they were to lose to Hungary to win, they would still finish third but go through.
Yes.
They would go through regardless. So they can kind of do what England and some other teams have done and just go, all right, well, now we can relax and just focus on the knockout game, because regardless of what happens here, we're going to be there.
Yeah. But who would you like England to face in the next round, assuming that Hungary are likely to lose? Which of those 2, the Germany or the Portugal team, who would be your preferred choice for England to face?
Right now, I think I'd rather Germany.
Okay.
Even after that 4-2 win against Portugal, I think I'd rather. I think England could up their game against Germany more than they could against Portugal, who we've had bad luck against in tournaments over the last 10, 20 years. And there's the Ronaldo factor. So yeah, I don't really want to face Portugal, if I'm honest.
Okay. All right. Interesting. There was a little England statistic I heard the other day, which was Gareth Southgate and England have made the fewest substitutions of any team at the Euros. And looking at this list, because you're allowed to make 5 subs in a game now, which is like remarkable. And every team in this group is making 4 or 5 subs a game, it seems. Apart from France, who... Oh no, they made 4 subs in the game against Hungary, actually. But it seems like everyone's making the most of their team. Like, they're confident that the teams have enough depth to kind of see them through.
Yeah. I think France do have one of the better squads in that regard, for sure.
Yeah, and it's like in the game against Hungary, they were able to bring on Giroud in the 76th minute, and they're like, oh yeah, Giroud, France's second highest ever goal scorer, comes on in the 76th minute.
They started the World Cup final 3 years ago, that would be annoying for any opposing defence to have that complete change in personnel to deal with.
Yeah,
sure.
So are you expecting this French team just to overwhelm Portugal later today then? Or do you think the Portuguese are, is Ronaldo going to be able to marshal everyone together to put up, the performance that they have to?
Portugal is definitely the underdogs
in
this one for me.
Even though they're the reigning champs? Even
though they're the reigning champs, yeah. Absolutely, yeah. Looking at their squad, I mean, they're missing a couple of guys from 5 years ago now, but it is 5 years ago. And we were talking 5 years ago, or rather at the World Cup, about the Euros, that their defenders were old. Because that defensive three of Pepe, Jose Font, and Bruno Alves. Bruno Alves is not included this time, but Font and Pepe are 37 and 38 each. But this time they've got Ruben Dias, who they didn't have last time, who arguably is one of the best centre halves in Europe at the moment. But it just seems, and what we've kind of seen in Portugal's game so far, is that without Ronaldo, then maybe they wouldn't have any points so far. But yeah, with France's quality, strength, and depth, despite their less than convincing start, I think France expect to go all the way.
And with Germany, you think they're going to be able to sneak their way through into another win here?
I would expect so. Yeah, even with the poor display against Germany and perhaps they are Germany. The poor display against France and the fortunate way they got through Portugal. There's no one is putting safe money on Hungary here. It'll be a great story, but and that's what I'll be hoping for. But I don't see it happening.
Okay, so as football fans, we're hoping for Hungary to pull through. But I have to admit, as a politics fan,
is that the word for someone who's into politics? You're a fan.
I'm a fan. Oh, it's the same deal. You pick your team. Every team has a colour. Many of them have songs. You go out there. You support your team. Rally your supporters. Go out. Make sure your voices are heard. And then when the other team wins, you shout and scream at them for the next 5 years. And
complain that you were robbed.
Yes, it's a very true thing in politics that there is no difference between supporting a political party and supporting a sports team, especially when so many sports teams, especially with football teams, represent identities and political identities, or what part of a city you grow up in, and if it's a particular part of one city, then maybe it's the poorer one rather than the richer one, which means that one of the teams is the rich person's team and the other one's the working man's team, and so whichever one you're on, the opposition can go fuck off. And yeah, like these things are all kind of inherently tied together, and they're all tied into our senses of identity as well. And that's a really big thing in America, where you have like the Democrats and the Republicans. There's only two teams. And once you assign yourself to one of those two teams, there aren't many people that kind of go back and forth. And that's why in America, those people who do go back and forth are so important, and why they're always talking about the floating voters. Because, the vast majority already have their teams. So it's
swing states. That's another phrase I've heard.
Yes, yeah, exactly. The swing states. But like California, they know who their team is. And Texas, they know who their team. Alabama, yeah, you sure as shit know who their team is. New York, like these, they don't swap very often.
That's interesting, because you'll hear Americans say that I am Republican, or I am a Democrat.
Yeah, I'm a Democrat.
Whereas but you don't really hear anyone here saying I am a conservative, or
no, you might say, I'm a Labour voter or something like that.
Yeah,
but you wouldn't say I am a Labour,
whatever that word might be. Yeah. You don't assign it as part of your identity. You just, that's just the club you're a part of, or the team you support, but it isn't who you are.
Yeah. It's a really interesting thing with identity. But again, that brings us quite nicely onto talking about Hungary and issues of identity. We're going to get on to the Munich stadium in a minute, because I've got things to say, Dave. I messaged you yesterday saying I'm angry at Germany, and I haven't told you what I'm angry about yet, but it's to do with that bloody stadium. But before we get onto the stadium, we should probably talk about why they've decided that they want to light it up in these flags anyway. The flags. It's the rainbow flag. Right? They don't have like multiple flags they want to light up. They want to do the pride flag. But they're doing that in Munich. The mayor of Munich and the local government applied to FIFA and UEFA to say, we want to light the Munich flag up, the Munich stadium up for the Germany-Hungary match. We want to light it in the rainbow flag because of an anti-LGBT law that is being passed in Hungary. So, why are the Hungarians doing this? And it all comes down to everyone's favourite Orban. No, Dave, not the Orban that's on the pitch, not the Hungarian player Orban. It's Viktor Orban, the leader of Hungary. He's become pretty infamous, I guess you could say, around the world. I found some adjectives to describe him. Where have they gone? Are
these your own or written?
No. These are ones that the other people have used to describe him. We have authoritarian, autocratic, strongman, dictator, right-wing populist. Now, if I was going to say to you, try and guess who his friends are, who would you say? Who would you get if you're just gonna guess who he might be friends with? Who do you reckon?
Is he friends with Putin?
God, that was a good guess. One of the other adjectives, Putinist. I wanted to see if you would get it, and you did. So that's great.
I got it all on myself.
Yep. Okay.
That sounds like I made a mess. I got it all by myself.
That's what Putin says about Crimea.
Oh.
Thank you. Any other guesses of who he might be friends with?
Who are those fascist people in Italy we were talking about?
Oh yeah, probably them. Yeah, that's also true. Yeah.
I don't know who else he might be friends with. You're gonna have to. Putin was my trump card. If this was a few years ago, maybe I would have said Trump too.
Trump was correct. That's another one. Another one of his friends. Yep, big fan of Trump. One of his best friends is Benjamin Netanyahu, the now former Prime Minister of Israel. Another guy that can go fuck himself. And this is kind of one of those things with Orban, when anytime you look at somebody and think they might be evil, they tend to be friends with Viktor Orban. And that's just kind of the case. Here are some things that Viktor Orban has said after the Syrian refugee crisis. You remember after the Syrian
refugee? Good.
It's not. He said, multiculturalism is only an illusion. As the leader of the Prime Minister of Hungary, he refused to join the EU in resettling Syrian refugees. He said that this was part of a Muslim invasion. And the EU said, we've got 1,300 refugees. Could you help us resettle them? And he went, nope. And that was it. That was it. And to be honest, if I was a Syrian refugee and I was looking for a new home, and one of the places that I could have gone for a new home just said, firstly, we don't want you. Secondly, we think you're trying to invade the country. And also multiculturalism is a lie. Probably I don't want to go to Hungary anyway.
I wouldn't want to go there. I mean, Budapest is nice. I've been there, and it's probably a bit more multicultural and international than anywhere else in the entire land space of Hungary. But
yes, yeah. Well, this again is continuing very much in the same vein as what we were describing about Poland. In the previous episode, we were saying that Poland has moved vastly towards the right wing, traditional in air quotes, traditional values. We don't want this multicultural European thing going on in our country.
Nonsense.
It's our country. We want the freedom to move to any other country in Europe, but we want everybody else to fuck off. It's that same kind of Brexit mentality, but more so. Right, like Boris Johnson has said things about Muslim women looking like letterboxes because he's a prick. But he has not said that Muslim women are trying to invade the country. Right, so it's like it's very much they're like the right wing, but only more so. And Orban is kind of one of the main proponents of that. He said, Christian democracy is dead in Europe. There's only one country that has it in the world, Brazil, because he loves Bolsonaro. Big Bolsonaro fan.
Of course he does.
Yes. So when I say this is the kind of guy that he's like, right? So when I was living in Moscow, I was on a TV show. I think I've told you about that. I did some...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was on a TV show and I did some script editing on a TV show. And one of the other extras was a Hungarian guy. He was really nice. He was really cool. We were talking about politics. And I was saying, well, Orban's a bit of a cunt, isn't he? Frankly, let's be honest. You can bleep that, by the way. Feel free to bleep the word cunt. But Orban, he's a bit of a cunt, isn't he? And he was like, yeah, but also for years Hungary hasn't been able to really do anything. They can't get through the bureaucracy of their own government. Like, we have these same, like, as we've discussed before, we've got these coalitions, but the coalitions are always collapsing. No one can agree with each other. But at least with Orban, he was able to build the highways that were always promised, but nobody could ever do. And to my mind, that's a bit like saying, Mussolini, the trains run on time.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what you just said, yeah.
Yes, yeah, and it's that same thing, and it's China. Yeah, they're doing genocide, but God, they built a lot of high-speed trains, haven't they? And it always seems to come down to that. Why is it that the morally ethical governments can't seem to do infrastructure? I don't know why it is, but if you can almost guarantee it that your dictatorship, your infrastructure is going to be top notch.
That's just the trade-off you get.
What do you want? Good infrastructure or to live a happy, comfortable, free life? It's kind of...
Well, I don't know. Speaking of infrastructure, I don't know what it's like where you live, but we've now got those electric scooter things around that you can hop on all around the city and drop them off, and you scan the QR code and you go... And there are probably a lot more accidents on those than have been reported that I've heard. But, when I see someone go past them, I go, isn't that some great infrastructure?
Well, this is again one of the things that I always say when people say about living in China or living in Russia, and it's like, you're living in Putin's Russia. Like, did you feel that there were things that you couldn't say or things you couldn't do? Or like China, it's the same thing, right? Like, you must have been scared to say anything living in China. And generally in both those countries, like, as long as you don't say, Xi Jinping looks like Winnie the Pooh, then you're going to be all right, right? Like, as long as you don't bring up A.A. Milne or say, I think that Putin's tits are saggy, then I waited till you took a drink of water before I delivered that line, just because I wanted to see what would happen.
Well timed.
Yeah, thank you. But you can do most things, and this is like, well, you in Russia, as long as you don't say the things you're not supposed to say, you are more free than in living a regular life here in the UK, right? And electric scooters are the perfect example to bring up here. I say that unless you are a gay person in both of these, in Hungary and in Russia as well, in which case you are definitely absolutely not. But electric scooters are a perfect example of what I mean, because they were in Moscow and they were in the UK. And in the UK, it's like, no, if you're in a certain area, you can only go at a certain speed. And we've set the scooters up so that people can only do what we want them to do. Whereas in Russia, it's like, yeah, fucking go for it. Right? There's no regulation, there's no rule on it. It's do what you want to do. But that, because people are free to do as they will, as long as they don't mention Putin's saggy tits. And I can't say how that is in Hungary, but the people in Hungary, it's definitely not true, is the LGBT community, which is going to nicely bring us over to our conversation today. The Orban and his party in Hungary are bringing in a new anti-LGBT law that the EU has said is grotesque. The EU have said, Budapest and Warsaw, you need to sort your shit out. Because as we were saying in the previous episode, we're just going in different directions. There's been a mass movement from Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, Scandinavian countries, all of these countries coming together, the EU, Dave, coming together on something to say, this shit ain't right. And we've seen this in a discussion with Germany as well in the last couple of days. Orban himself was supposed to be in Munich to watch the football later on today. But after this outcry, he's like, I'm not going to bother. So Orban is not going to be at the Hungary-Germany game where he was supposed to be going, because the outcry over this anti-LGBT law has been so big. So what is this law? How is it going to affect people? Is it the first one? No, it's not the first one. This is what they've been doing for ages. But it does continue a trend of these right-wing countries trying to say, we're not really homophobic, we're just traditional. And that's something that we're kind of used to hearing. But they do it in these really insane ways. So this is another classic. Well, something I can almost imagine being used 20 years ago by the Republicans in America, where they're saying, we're not trying to hurt gay people, we're trying to stop pedophiles.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember that kind of rhetoric, that exact sort of thing?
I think I do, yeah, that they were basically one and the same.
Yes, yeah, and that's what we get with this new Hungarian law. So this new one is pretty. The law itself is pretty popular because people don't like pedophiles very much. And so another law to crack down on paedophilia. It's difficult to stand in Parliament and say, no, I don't want you to be horrible to those paedophiles. It's a pretty tough.
Protect the pedos.
Protection. I'm definitely editing that and putting that online later on. But this is the law that they produced, right? They produced this law against paedophilia, and then kind of at the bottom of the law, written in the small print, in the margins, they've put in like a little adjacent thing that says, in media, there is to be no depiction or promotion of homosexuality to those under 18. Right, and that's pretty much it. So they're going, no, it's for people under 18, right? It's for children. So the idea is to stop pedophiles. Adults can be as gay as the day is long. In Hungary, the government has said, but we don't want to be telling our children that they should be gay because it might make them susceptible to pedophiles. Now,
all right.
Yes, this is yeah. All right, seems like a pretty fair response, but the people are pretty upset about this law across Europe, understandably. But some of the companies in Hungary are upset at it for different reasons. So you've got RTL, which is a major TV channel and media organization within Hungary. They've said they're pretty upset about it because it means that they can't show Friends, famed sitcom Friends. They can't show that anymore.
Is that big in Hungary?
Well, it's big everywhere. You think everyone watches Friends, like around the world. It's why you when you meet somebody from China or something and they speak with an American accent, you're like, what? And they're like, I watch Friends. And you know,
yeah. I mean, we've had plenty of international friends who, if not learned from TV, but honed their English through watching American and British TV shows. So they talk with that twang. It's bizarre, but can't knock it. It's a great way of learning, isn't it? It's just such a saturated market.
Yeah, you might remember in Friends, Ross's ex-wife became a lesbian. Or came out as a lesbian and had a lesbian marriage. So you can't show that in Hungary anymore. Modern Family, the sitcom Modern Family, of course, gay couple, can't show that. Bridget Jones's Diary, can't show that. Harry Potter, for some reason, I don't remember if is there a gay couple in Harry Potter?
Not that I remember.
Now maybe it's the thing about paedophiles, I don't know. But
we can't show under 18s Harry Potter in case they become susceptible to paedophiles.
Yes, well, we don't want them going around holding their own wands, do we? So, Philadelphia, the Tom Hanks movie, Billy Elliot, these are all... again, Billy Elliot, I don't even remember the character of Billy Elliot being gay.
Although anyone in that movie being gay. It's just about a kid who wants to dance, and that's not very boyish because he's from a working class Northern English neighborhood.
Yeah, I can't remember if there are gay characters in that. A good excuse to watch a great movie again, to find out why it's banned in Hungary. That's why I'm going to do a lot of things from now on, is to find out why it's banned in certain countries. There are some great ones that were banned. Not the film censorship is anything new, of course. Like in China, they'll find any reason to ban something. Joker was banned. Deadpool was banned. Of course, the Ewan McGregor film Christopher Robin was banned because I don't know. There just seems to be something about Winnie the Pooh characters that gets on Xi Jinping's saggy tits. I'm not sure what it is, but
see, that's a second world leader that you've pointed out their saggy tits today.
I would never say that these dictators, with their unlimited power, could be upset about me saying they have saggy tits. But, I'm not even one to say that whether they do or do not look like Winnie the Pooh. But Xi Jinping does. Like, that's, But that's to the side. But people in Hungary are, you've got the people who are supporting the LGBT rights angle. You've got people saying, well, actually, this disregards our freedom of speech because you're controlling what we can and cannot show. And it means that you can stop minorities, you can stop things from expressing themselves. And that goes against the freedom of speech that exists within a democracy. We're a part of the EU. You can't silence speech in the EU because it's a union. And that's a big deal. So in the lead up to this Hungary-Germany game, I'm gonna pass it over to you if you saw what the discussion was going on surrounding the stadium in Munich.
Yeah, I did see the story. And that the mayor had applied to UEFA to light up the stadium. The Allianz Arena in Munich is amazing. Like the whole outside of the building, every panel on the outside is a screen that you can light up, and they can do different light shows and different colour patterns and whatever. So it looks there's a picture online you can find of what it looks like when it's lit up in the rainbow colours, and it looks awesome. But I was a bit perturbed, I suppose, but I kind of understood UEFA's angle from how I read it. UEFA's angle said, we're all for LGBTQ plus representation and diversity. We're obviously all about that. It's been slapped all over the stadiums and all the merchandise and whatever. That's great. And we know it's Pride Month. But you kind of seem like you're only doing this because Hungary are just trying to pass this law, and therefore that makes it a political act, and that's something that UEFA don't like. And we've spoken about a bunch of times how if you can slap it with this branding of it's political, then it gives them an excuse just to get rid of it.
Yes, and this is where my anger comes in, and why I almost ranted at you yesterday, was for exactly this. Yeah. Manuel Neuer, the German goalkeeper, wore a rainbow armband, and UEFA for some reason felt it was necessary to look into it, and then they looked into it for about 10 minutes and they went, no, it's fine. And that was pretty much the end of that. But the fact they had to look into it is kind of weird. But the problem here, from my point of view, is not that UEFA rejected it. Because the mayor of Munich said, yep, Hungary are coming, and to support the LGBT Hungarians during Pride Month, we want to light it up to counter, what they've seen from their own government. And as soon as I read that, I said to Alex and Steve, other awful commentary contributors, I said, UEFA have to reject it, right? Because as we know with UEFA, they exist in as physically possible a non-political space. They say we are an apolitical body. We don't get involved with the politics. You remember when some of the teams wanted to wear the Remembrance Day poppy for 100 years of the First World War, the end of the First World War, and UEFA were kind of like, you kind of can't because it's a political symbol. And that was like a big deal.
It was, but then did the players wore it anyway?
I can't remember. Yeah, I think they did. Yeah, they did, and that was like a ooh kind of thing. But UEFA had to say no to this because in the Munich government's application for it, they specified we're doing this because of a law being passed in Hungary.
Yeah.
Right?
What a dumb move, man.
No, this is why I'm angry.
Honesty.
No. This is why I'm angry about it, and why I said to you, and I text you to say I'm angry about this, but not for the reason you think. The reason I'm angry about this is because the government in Munich knew. Right?
They knew that they were going to get turned down.
They knew if they put in their application, we're doing this because of a law being passed in Hungary, that they would get rejected for it. If I, some fucking dumbass who knows nothing, sat in my bedroom, knows that UEFA has to refuse that law, then the government in Munich applying for it knows. If they had submitted an application that said, hey, it's Pride Month, and to celebrate Pride Month, which is a big thing we do here in Munich, we're all about inclusivity, for all of the games being played here in Munich against Portugal, France, Hungary, we want to light up the stadium in pride colours to celebrate equality, and UEFA, you're all about that. UEFA should have said, yeah, we are all about that. But they didn't, Dave. What they did was they waited for the one match in which they would play against Hungary, and then they decided, hey, we want to celebrate Pride Month. Firstly, where were you for the rest of the month? Nice of you to turn up and notice for this one match, but then to deliberately say, we're doing it because of a law being passed in Hungary, means that they know UEFA has to reject them. I know that UEFA has to reject them, and who the fuck am I? So if they know that UEFA, as an apolitical body, has to reject something where they have deliberately worded in the request, we're doing this because of politics in Hungary, then why have they done it?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. What's your prevailing theory?
My prevailing theory is that as soon as UEFA rejected it, all of the other stadiums in Germany said, we're going to light up instead. Did you see that? The stadiums in Berlin, basically all of the Bundesliga stadiums said, oh, they're not going to let Munich light up because UEFA are bastards, but we're all going to light up instead.
So the whole of Germany is going to be lit up in rainbow colours except for the one place where the Hungarian national team are going to be, which is what, a bigger statement against the Hungarian political situation than it would be for just a one stadium.
Because all of Germany will be lit up. And possibly you'll see the other stadiums, maybe stadiums in France, maybe London, maybe, there are other games being played today. Maybe they're going to light up. But call me cynical, Dave. But either I'm cynical in thinking that the German government knew what they were doing and that are intelligent, or I'm wrong and the mayor of Munich is a fucking idiot.
But it's probably the former.
It would seem to me that the government of Munich would be conscious enough to know exactly how this is going to play out. Right? And that drives me fucking bananas. Because, again, this is no different to what we were saying in the last episode, where we said about Disney using Pride Month to sell princesses in rainbow dresses. Right? Or even in comic books, where it's like, hey, it's Pride Month, so here's a variant cover of Spider-Man, only he's in a rainbow costume. Bye, 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 bye. This is exactly the same shit. But what they're doing is they set it up. They've set up a trap for UEFA to step in. And then the bear trap is clamped around UEFA, and now UEFA have to come out and say, no, we're pro-LGBT, we're pro-LGBT, and Germany could be like, no, you're not, because if you were, you would have gone with us, and blah, 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 blah. Look, all of our stadiums are lit up, look how good we are. And it's playing games, and they set up a trap so they can look better. And it's no different to all of those other companies doing it. It's everyone playing games with Pride Month, playing games with equality, so they can go, well, look how good we are. Or they're stupid. I guess it could go either way. But it seems to me, like, as the cynic that I am, that this was a very deliberate move that has gone exactly the way that the Munich government wanted it to, and I'm going to go on to Paddy Power, Bet365, whatever fucking betting website, and I'm not going to bet on the result of the match, but I'm going to put money on that Munich stadium lighting up anyway.
Oh,
I would put money on it, on somebody in that Munich stadium pushing the button and going, oops. And then when they're like, UEFA's like, who was it? We said you couldn't do it. They're like, oh, well, what are you going to do? Look how good we are. You said we couldn't do it and we did it anyway. What are you going to do? Fine us $25,000? Because we know you don't do anything, right? We know, as we said about in the controversies episode, UEFA doesn't ever punish anyone unless they are billionaires. So what are they going to do if this Munich... the Munich stadium decides to light up anyway? And it's all for press, it's all for PR, it's all marketing, and it's scummy. And to see across the internet people being like, oh, UEFA hate gay people. Firstly, I'm the first person to come out and say UEFA can fuck off. But in this case, they've been played. They've done exactly what they had to do. And the mayor of Munich can sit there feeling all smug, waving his rainbow flag as he sees his poll numbers go up.
Yeah. Well, so if the mayor of Munich is conniving and smart, what do we think about UEFA's response? Like, couldn't they have handled this in a smarter way? Couldn't if you can see how the puppet strings being pulled here, surely someone in UEFA's gone, do you reckon they're doing this on purpose? And then they could at least put their heads together and gone, okay, well, how can we manage the situation in a way that makes us seem like we are supporting the things that we support and we're representing the things we want to represent, and yet we're not being played by some prick in a desk in Munich. We can all win at this, instead of coming out and going, oh no, we do like LGBT stuff, but we can't because of what you said about Hungary, and we've got rules, and I'm sorry. Like, they could have done better. They could have done... I hate all this political conniving and underhandedness and just, I don't know, real kind of evil thinking. But it seems like UEFA have missed a trick to just stick one back in the mayor of Munich's face.
Yeah. Again, yeah, UEFA came out and said, in their document, they wanted it to be, a political statement against the Hungarian government. And we don't allow that, right? That's not what UEFA is about. So it doesn't matter if it's a good cause or not. Regardless of what the cause is, you're not allowed to make a political statement aimed at another country. And some people have said, well, in that case, do UEFA start disallowing countries that don't agree to it, the same set of values, right? If the Hungarian government passes anti-LGBT laws, do UEFA, who say that they believe in equality, do they have to prevent Hungary from playing at the next one? Should they kick out Bulgaria for the racism that the black players have faced? How can you say you're pro-equality if you allow those teams to come and play? But we live in a multicultural planet. As much as Orban would like to say that we don't, we live in a planet, we are a race of many cultures, of many beliefs, of many differing ideas. And you can't both say we're a religiously tolerant organisation and then prevent countries with religions that disagree with your ideas around identity, right? If you wanted to kick out and countries that have anti-LGBT laws, well, goodbye Iran, right, who were at the last World Cup. You've got to get rid of Malaysia, Indonesia, China. It's you lose African countries. The African Cup of Nations is gone, right? And if you start removing countries because their belief system and their ideology is different to yours, repugnant as it may be, then the whole point of sports being something that promotes peace and cooperation and equality is diminished. Because you say, no, you can't join us because you think different things to us. And as I've said numerous times, Viktor Orban can go fuck himself. He can go and join Putin and Winnie the Pooh and jump off a cliff. More than happy for that. But you can't prevent Hungary from... You can't deliberately target the Hungarian people at an apolitical sporting event.
Yeah, it all plays entirely into UEFA's mandate of it being an apolitical thing. So here's a question: How can they punish football associations and countries for the behaviour of their fans or their players if it's race or politically driven? On what they do that's what they do even if we've said it's kind of weak and
yes,
half-assed. But then where does that stop them from doing what you've said and taking huge political action and being like, you as a country are not welcome in our tournament because of politics? Mm-hmm. And then they go, but you've said football is apolitical, and they go, yeah, but we are UEFA and we're aligned with the EU, and that we will have these understandings of what is decent and what human values are. So if you don't want to be a part, or they set out a guideline that says this is what we're going to do. We are going to put rainbow flags all over the stadiums during Pride Month, and if you are a country that disagrees with that on a fundamental level, and let's say we want to stitch a rainbow into every single nation's shirt, and if you don't want that because it goes against your political beliefs, or at least the political agendas of your governments, then fine, don't come, and we'll just, whoever's next on the pecking order who is happy to have a rainbow stitched onto their jersey, they can come play in our tournament. I mean, what would UEFA or FIFA at a World Cup level really lose? Because you're still getting a country to fill that gap. Even if you do lose China, Iran, Hungary, Poland, whatever else might happen in the world going forwards, there'll be plenty of other countries who will happily come along.
Yeah. But you're punishing the people of the country for the actions of the government at a sporting tournament.
Well, no, you're punishing You're punishing the government because or a sports team represents the country and their government. It doesn't necessarily represent the people. The people represent themselves. So like with the Bulgaria thing, a group of people, not all Bulgarians, not everyone who lives in whatever city that game took place in, but just a group of people acted a certain way and represented their nation and their city.
Yeah.
So I don't even know what their punishment was, but why not? Let's say if you actually want to punish the people who were responsible, go, well, then we're just going to have no more games at this stadium. This is clearly local to you.
Yeah.
So, and every time this happens with local people at a local stadium, it's go, well, we'll just take that stadium off of the fucking fixture list.
Yeah.
Like no country UEFA affiliated doesn't have an alternative. Like I'm sure there'll be some countries that have like a 25,000 seater stadiums where they can hold big UEFA games. And if you chalk that one off the list, maybe there's one that's only can only hold 10,000 people. But then you're punishing the government and the FA by allowing less tickets to be sold, and then that's actually going to be like they're going to be like, oh fuck, like we actually need those 15,000 extra tickets in order to blah 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 blah. And I'm doing a bit of a rant now, but unlike you, who has a rant that is well formed and has a beginning, a middle, of an end, and a conclusion, I've just started talking, and I don't know where I'm going with it.
So that's
go back to you.
Yeah, so that's kind of the problem that I foresee, is that you end up with an ideological club that separates the world into what is and what is not acceptable thought. And what that means is, if you want to stitch a pride flag onto every single team and say, no, you have to, in Pride Month, support LGBT rights and identity, then it means you can have very few Islamic nations participate, which means you are prioritizing people of an LGBT identity over people of a Muslim identity. And once you get into deciding which identity is acceptable and which identity is not acceptable, it means that you may as well just, you'll just be playing England, France and Germany all the time. But maybe you can't play in France because in France, they banned the burqa. And in France, they decided what is acceptable clothes for Muslim women to wear by law. Which means if you want to promote religious equality, well, France can't be allowed in your tournament. They can be allowed into the LGBT-friendly tournament, but they can't be allowed into the religious tournament, right? Unless, say, you want to have a racism one to promote Black Lives Matter. You can have some of your African countries in there, but with the history of genocide in Africa, maybe you can only have certain African countries in, because you can't allow other ones that have a history of genocide against other African nations. But would you allow America? Would you allow South Africa? Has South Africa gone past its point of racism now to such an extent, where it can be allowed into that? Could you allow America into it? You couldn't allow Myanmar to join with its history of racism and genocide against the Rohingya people. And this is the problem of when you have a body like UEFA being allowed to make political decisions, is there is somebody at the top of that pyramid who gets to decide who is included and who is not included. And that's the fucking Viktor Orban thing again. The only difference would be, it would be the identities that we like. It would be saying, actually, we do like the LGBT communities, and we do think that racism is an issue. So I'm sorry, Bulgaria, but you don't get to participate because of because of that. If their fans deliberately do something, they're out. Right? That is how it should be. Bulgaria should not be allowed to participate in the Euros if their fans go there and racially abuse football players from other countries, because that is a deliberate action by the people in the sporting tournament, and no one should have to put up with that abuse, and it shouldn't be allowed. But the action of a government is not the action of its people, because as we're seeing in Hungary, the action of the government deliberately hurts its people. That's the anti-LGBT law. Hungarian gay, lesbian, trans people are still Hungarians, And if you punish Hungarians for the action of their government, then you're also punishing the LGBT people as well. And so what should happen today, I think what's going to happen is that, we're going to see this light up. But the German players should come out in a rainbow kit. Because that is the action of the players, not the action of some government official trying to promote something in a marketing thing because what that does is it plays into their political plans, and they're using sport and they're using identity issues in an attempt to become more popular. It's a game. But if the players come out and do it, if the players kneel, if the players choose to take an action that is deliberately in favour of LGBT rights, you can punish those players if you're UEFA, if you want to. But that's their political action, not the action of a government, not the action of a sporting body. It's the action of individuals, and individuals can make statements because individuals are people.
Yeah, what I would really love to see, actually, or what I'd love to find out, if there was anyone we could talk to about it, is how many Hungarians actually agree with Orban's laws, and whether he is autocratic and dictatorial and Putin-esque, and that he's just passing whatever laws he wants, even if it goes against the opinions and the feelings of most of its people. Because what I was thinking when you were saying about the German players coming out making their own statement, outside of what their FA and what their mayor wants and what UEFA wants. It would be great if I'm just fantasizing about where the German players talk to the Hungarian squad and go, all these puppet masters are making all these decisions about the game that we have to play later. Why don't we do something? And what if all the Hungarian players come out wearing rainbow armbands like Manuel Neuer, or all 22 players do it, or all 22 players take a knee, just to be like, fuck you Orban. Fuck you, UEFA. Fuck you, mayor of whatever. We are making a statement. This is what we believe, and we are, even though they're footballers and they're kind of on a level above, maybe you would say, the lay people. They are still the people of the country. They're under the laws of both governments and sporting bodies that aim to control them. That would be great. What a great image that would be for this tournament after this fracas.
Yeah.
With fucking lights on a stadium.
I know, and that's what gets to me as well. Is that when we see it with companies, we see it with politics all the time. It's trying to use a group of people to further your own agenda, and that's what the mayor of Munich has done, and it's what Orban has done. It's just from different sides of the issue. Yeah. I'm
trying just to find out what the mayor of Munich's name is, because we keep dropping Orban, and it'd be great so we can name drop this guy so we actually know who we're talking about. Dieter Reiter, mayor of Munich.
Does it say what party he's a part
of? Let's have a look. Wikipedia will have our answers. He's a member of the Social Democratic Party.
Okay.
What do you know about them?
Not much. It's not Merkel's party though. I think she's a Christian Democrat. I think. I might be wrong.
It's one of the two major contemporary political parties in Germany, along with the Christian Democratic Union of Germany. I'm just trying to find out what their kind of alignment is, according to...
I would imagine centre-left.
Wow, nailed it. Political position, centre-left.
There we go. Dominic Archer just dropping 3 pointers from out here.
Hell yeah.
No, it's like...
Well, it's speaking of, just as on this thing about centre-left, Dieter Reiter, mayor of Munich.
Yeah.
He's probably, vocally at least, always on the side of the left. But then it's just something about politicians that their agendas always kind of will overpower their, beliefs, their systems. Like if any person who would maybe feel themselves kind of a centrist, but be like, yeah, but I'm all for LGBT equality. But if you put that into a politician's body, they are always going to be like, so how can I use this? Because there is nothing that a politician does that some thought isn't given to what the effect or the opinion or the backlash of what they might do is, and it just depends on how much power they have, whether they give a shit. So if you're just the mayor of Munich, what is the opinion of you, both in terms of your city and your country, and what your government thinks of you, is huge. But if you're Putin, you can just do whatever the fuck you want, and it doesn't matter because you were at the top.
Well, did you know who the mayor of Munich was before this week? Because I didn't.
No. But then like you've said, he's put himself on the map.
Viktor Orban was meant to be there to watch that game. He's not coming now.
Well, I wonder how much of that was his own decision, how much of it was his security being like, I'm not so sure about your safety anymore.
And again, I don't like Viktor Orban. I need to keep saying that. I don't like it, and I don't like UEFA. But what I hate even more is the manipulation that is at play. And that is obviously at play.
Yeah, it's so obvious. I mean, we've talked about obvious corruption, and why is nothing done? It's just, again, so barefaced.
Yeah. Whether it's saying, oh, no, it's to stop paedophiles. Or whether it's saying, oh, I can't believe that UEFA wouldn't allow us to do that thing we knew that they wouldn't let us do. If the mayor of Munich really cared about Pride Month, that stadium would have been lit up from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Right? That stadium would have been lit up the whole tournament. Was it? No. Why did he only want to do it for this Hungary one? Well, I know who the mayor of Munich is now, so he must have done a pretty good job.
Well, let's see if by maybe the next Euros or the next World Cup or whenever, we'll be talking about Dieter Reiter as opposition leader to Angela Merkel, or maybe even the Prime Minister of Germany.
This is her final term. She's resigning after this term, I think. So maybe we'll be looking at him as potential leader of the Social Democrats running for the chancellorship of Germany.
Chancellorship.
And if he does, I'll say, probably I agree with you on a lot of issues, Dieter. But while I agree with you about a lot of stuff...
Yeah, you're also an asshole.
Yeah.
Asshole!
Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens with the football, at least.
Do you hope for an apolitical game of football, or are you kind of hoping for a bit more spectacle and a bit more of a human story?
I wanted Switzerland to play Austria because I wanted that Austrian player that insulted the Albanians,
Marko Arnautovic.
Yes, I wanted him to come up against Xhaka and Shaqiri, and for Xhaka and Shaqiri to be like, "Oh, you're going to do that again? You're going to do that to us? You're going to do that to us?" And for them to fucking flip the bird in his face. As I've said before, politics and football cannot be separated, right? And what happens on the pitch happens on the pitch, and players can choose to kneel, they can choose to boo, they can choose to, and fans in the stadium, they can choose to express themselves however they want to express themselves, and I am fine with that. And if Neuer wears the rainbow armband, if all the German players wear a rainbow armband, down for it, 100%. But what this is manipulation. And that shit doesn't fly. That's all I've got to say about it. I don't want football to be apolitical. I don't. But what I don't want is for it to be manipulated, and for us to be manipulated, and for us to be like, well, you already don't like UEFA, right? So by the way, they're homophobic. Like, what that does is it undermines things like the Kick It Out campaign. And it undermines UEFA's projects that are pro-equality by digging underneath to be like, aha, see, they're not pro-equality. They say they are, but they aren't. You can't set them up to fail and then say that they're not for equality. If they don't punish people the way they're supposed to, then they're not. That's their action. But this is an action that you have taken to show them up. And it's like a paparazzi, right? It's like a cheap paparazzi stunt, trying to get an upskirt photo of a celebrity. Being like, oh look, she's a slut because we got a photo up her skirt.
Doesn't matter that you're lying on your back on it in the gutter to get it.
Yeah, on a skateboard, so that someone could push you, so that you could take loads of them as you go. That's what they're like. That's what this is like. It's like a paparazzi, and they're gonna kill Princess Diana again. That's not the only football of today, though, Dave. I think some football kicks off in like 50 minutes.
Yeah, 5 o'clock kickoffs in Group E. The last game's there.
Who have we got? Last of Group E.
Sweden are playing Poland and Slovakia against Spain. In a game that's Sweden are the only team guaranteed to go through so far. So it's exciting. Poland topping up the table right now.
Any predictions? Do you think Poland are going to turn it on at long last, or do you think they're gone?
I think they're probably gone. I think Sweden have been pretty firm. I'm going to go maybe a draw in the Sweden-Poland game, and I think Spain will beat Slovakia, and Spain will go through top if they go ahead of Sweden on goal difference.
All right. Well, join us for the next episode of Who Watches the World Cup to find out how accurate Dave's predictions are. We'll see. He thinks Germany have got it. He thinks France have got it. He thinks Spain have got it. And who's the last one?
Sweden. Sweden are already through, so
yeah.
That's one I can't take claim for.
Okay. Let's see. Let's see how we do. Thank you for listening to Who Watches the World Cup, and we will see you next time. This is me in Victor Orban.
These are my goodbye guns.